What would you do if the empire you built from nothing was nearly stolen by someone you trusted? My name is Elena Carter, and this is the story of how I fought to save my company, my legacy, and my truth. It's a tale of betrayal, cunning, and the quiet power of preparation, a reminder that sometimes the sharpest weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming. Sarah's husband, Greg, was always around. A charming man with a salesman's grin, he'd linger at our office, offering unsolicited advice or cracking jokes that never landed. I didn't mind him at first. He was Sarah's problem, not mine. But over time, I noticed his questions grew sharper. He'd ask about our revenue, our investor contracts, our proprietary code. I brushed it off, maybe he was just curious. Then came the day I overheard him on a call in our break room, whispering about taking over and cutting her out. My gut twisted. I didn't confront him. Instead, I started recording. I'd always been cautious. Growing up, I learned that words could be weapons and evidence was armor. So I installed discrete audio recorders in our office, nothing invasive, just enough to capture key conversations. I never told Sarah. I didn't want to scare her or seem paranoid. But as Greg's presence grew, so did my unease. His charm felt like a mask, and I wasn't about to let my life's work slip through my fingers. The first crack in the facade came at our annual board meeting. Greg, who had no official role, somehow got himself invited. He pitched a new direction for Lamora, proposing we sell a majority stake to a shadowy investment group he claimed to know. The board was skeptical, but Sarah backed him, her eyes bright with trust. I stayed quiet, my recorder humming in my pocket. That night, I listened to the playback. Greg's voice, low and smug, telling someone on the phone, "Once we push Elena out, the company's ours. She's too focused on code to notice." My blood ran cold. Greg wasn't just meddling, was orchestrating a coup. Worse, Sarah seemed oblivious. I couldn't tell if she was complicit or just blinded by love. Either way, I had to act. But confronting them directly would tip my hand. I needed proof, leverage, and a plan. Enter Mia, our office intern. She was a quiet college student, barely 20, who'd been with us for 3 months. I hadn't paid her much attention. She mostly filed papers and fetched coffee. But one evening, as I worked late, Mia knocked on my office door. Her hands trembled as she handed me a USB drive. "I found this in Greg's bag," she whispered. "He left it in the break room. I didn't mean to snoop, but you need to see it." The USB contained emails between Greg and his so-called investors. They weren't investors at all. They were a rival firm looking to gut Lumera's tech and sell it piecemeal. The emails laid out everything. Forged documents to dilute my shares, plans to replace me as CEO, even a timeline to push Sarah out once they had control. Mia's discovery was a gift, but it also meant she was now a target. I thanked her, told her to stay quiet, and promised to protect her. I spent weeks cross-referencing the USB's contents with my recordings. Greg's voice filled my nights, his arrogance seeping through every word. He'd underestimated me, assuming I was too buried in code to notice his schemes. But every late-night call, every whispered Dell forgotten I was listening. I had hours of audio. Greg bribing a board member, Greg mocking Sarah's loyalty, Greg boasting about owning Lamora. It was a digital noose, and I was ready to tighten it. The twist came when I confronted Sarah. I'd expected tears, denial, maybe even anger. Instead, she went pale, her hands gripping the edge of my desk. "Elena," she said, her voice breaking, "I had no idea. He's been lying to me, too." She revealed that Greg had been draining their joint account, claiming it was for investments in Lamora. She'd trusted him blindly, believing he was helping us. Her betrayal wasn't intentional, but it cut just as deep. Sarah wasn't my enemy, she was another victim. Together, we devised a plan. The next board meeting was in 2 days, and Greg was set to present his takeover pitch. We let him think he was winning. I fed him false data about our finances, knowing he'd use it to seal his deal. Meanwhile, Sarah and I met with our lawyers, laying out the evidence, my recordings, Mia's USB, and financial records showing Greg siphoning. The lawyers were stunned. One called it a corporate thriller on steroids. The meeting was electric. Greg strode in, all confidence, pitching his vision to sell Lamora to his investors. The board listened, nodding politely. Then it was my turn. I stood, connected my laptop to the projector, and played the first recording. Greg's voice filled the room, smug and calculating, detailing his plan to oust me. Gasps rippled through the board. I followed with the USB's emails, each one a nail in his coffin. Greg's face drained of color. He stammered, claiming it was a misunderstanding, but the recordings kept coming hours of his own words, betraying him. Sarah spoke next, her voice steady despite her pain. She revealed Greg's financial betrayal, her own heartbreak laid bare. The board was silent, then erupted. They voted unanimously to remove Greg's access to Lamora and pursue legal action. Sarah, tears in her eyes, promised to step back until we could rebuild trust. I didn't blame her. She'd been deceived too. The aftermath was messy but cleansing. Greg faced charges for fraud and embezzlement. Sarah took a leave of absence, focusing on rebuilding her life. I promoted Mia, not just for her bravery, but for her sharp instincts. She was Lumar's future. The company survived, stronger than ever, because I'd refused to let it fall. Looking back, I think about trust, how fragile it is, how easily it can be weaponized. I'd built Lamora on trust with Sarah, but I'd also built it on my own resilience. Greg thought he could outsmart me, that I was just a coder with no head for strategy. He forgot I was a listener, a planner, a fighter. Every word he spoke was a brick in the wall he built around himself, and I had the key to tear it down. This isn't just a story of betrayal. It's a story of vigilance, of standing up when everything you've built is at stake. It's about the quiet power of preparation, the strength to protect what's yours, and the courage to forgive those who falter. Lamora thrives today, not because we avoided betrayal, but because we faced it head-on. And I'll never stop listening, just in case.